true. Like you can't throw, 4 round taillights on the back of a bar of soap and decide that it's a Ferrari.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, and this is my friend Jeff Buchholz from beautiful Chicago, Illinois, high atop the new Buchholz building. How's
Yeah,
that?
we're working on naming rights right now. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Um, so Jeff, Ferrari brought out something new.
Yeah.
and and there was quite a lot of talk about it. And one of the things I've been interested in doing this show with you is that I have learned a lot more about cars that you like and how sometimes you march to a different gas pedal.
Yes.
So I'm just going to go. We have not talked about this.
No.
I'm gonna make a prediction here that you actually like the Luce.
Oh, I think like's a strong word.
Okay, all right.
Um, I think I think Ferrari clearly sees a hole in the market for um, something that is the Ferrari brand, but also is a performance vehicle, like a Tesla Plaid, we'll say. And this is the direction in which they've decided to go. And it's like, well, if people are going to buy a Tesla Model S Plaid or a Model X Plaid or whatever, why don't we give them like the real thing? The real thing looks like a reject from Space 1999. And I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing.
No, that's
Um,
fair. Yeah.
it is. I mean, I'm also super on the record is really liking the Mustang Mach-E, which is, I mean, I think the arguments about whether or not it's a Mustang are silly because, of course, Ford invented the Mustang. They can call a Mustang whatever they want.
Absolutely.
Um, and I also think that's a really nice looking car, generally speaking. I think where a lot of the where a lot of the discourse is, of course, is about, well, it doesn't really look like a Ferrari. And that's absolutely true. Like you can't throw, 4 round taillights on the back of a bar of soap and decide that it's a Ferrari. The folks at Ferrari think that this is the way to go. And of course, because Ferrari really only sells cars to people it knows and builds one fewer car than will meet the demand. It isn't like it's a risky business case for them because I assume that every one of these Luces are already sold
Mhm.
to someone. The Sultan of Brunei, maybe. Does he
I
still
was
own
just gonna
cars? I
say,
have,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
or something like that. I think it's challenging. And again, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Um, the worst thing I can say about it maybe is that it kind of doesn't look like anything else.
Hmm.
And I think that makes it hard to classify. It clearly doesn't look like a Ferrari.
Right.
And I'm not sure, maybe this is one of these, I don't know. If only I could get Chris Bangle on the phone and see if I mean, because everybody bagged on the Bangle butt and
Right.
all of the early 2000s BMWs, and of course, I think a lot of people who see modern BMWs now wish that guy would just come back.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, again, with the
Yeah.
exception of the Nove Classe, which this podcast I think is pro, generally speaking. Um, but I think I maybe it will age better. Maybe this is where cars are going. I mean, then the problem with the design is that they didn't have Farina do it. I mean, you know,
Okay.
that's they. I mean, it's a legendary design house, and certainly a company that understands Ferrari DNA better than just about anybody, probably. And,
Hmm.
unless they're suddenly not pleased with the direction of the company. I'm trying to remember the last non Pininfarina Ferrari, and it might have been the 308 GT4, which is Bertoni.
Could be.
Um,
Yeah.
I think unless they've done them in house, and they may have done some in house, but I think Pininfarina's done pretty much every Ferrari in the modern era. So that they
Yeah.
would go to an outside house feels weird to me, which is probably why the car looks so strange.
Yeah, I don't think it fits what the car should be.
Mm-mm.
And and I don't know if you've ever seen like the key fobs for the Lucids. It just looks
Mm.
like this originally, soap shaped thing that has worn down after you've used it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And on the website, there's a shot where it looks down and the doors open and then it closes,
Hmm.
and it's just this thing. And I don't it's not a Ferrari, but it's not horrible, horrible, horrible. And maybe if it was something else, people would feel very differently about it.
Yeah.
And I get the idea of, we're losing the engine. We might as well go with a whole different design language. Okay, I get the idea behind that, but this is not the execution I don't think that they wanted. And what was wrong with showing it in red? Well, I
Yeah.
mean, are not showing it in red. Like
Yeah.
that blue is just
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
It totally resets everything you think about what a modern Ferrari should be. I am suddenly reminded of this podcast's many conversations about the future of Jaguar.
Hmm.
When they brought out whatever, what was it, the Model Zero or the Double
Yeah,
Zero or something? I can't remember
something.
what it
Yeah.
was called. But I mean, I remember when, first, we had a whole conversation about the ad campaign, and then we saw the prototype and we were like, I don't know, is it not? Um, and now we're here, and I'm not. Um, I mean, I guess the way that remain an iconic car maker in these times is by always pushing the envelope and always sort of trying to figure out what the new trends are. But it's also possible to outkick your coverage.
Mhm.
And I think that again, I don't think Ferrari's losing money on this because they've sold every one, I think. But it is the sort of car that you look at in the continuum of past Ferraris, and you wonder if in 50 years, there will be a Ferrari Luce Day at like Pebble, or something, or some Concours d'Elegance somewhere like at Amelia
Okay.
Island maybe. And
Yeah.
the way that people revere the 250, or the Gen Xers among us, really like the GTB and the GTS from the Magnum era, or how I, harbor uh, an completely unjustified desire to own a 400. Like, I don't know if it's ever going to be regarded that way, but maybe that's not what Ferrari thinks cars are going to be. I don't know.
I had a flash of an idea. Okay. And let me run it past. Let me take a break and then I'll run it past you.
Love it.
All right, we're back. And here's my big idea. I think you mentioned 50 years. I think that in 50 years, this car will be mentioned in the same breath as the Aston Martin Lagonda and with the same interest,
Hmm. Hmm.
because the Lagonda in current, it went for like $50,000 new, and which in today's money is just under $1 million. And they built 740 some odd of them. And if memory serves, you saw one once?
So I've seen the newer one.
Okay.
I saw a newer Lagonda um, when they revived the mark a few years ago, but only for certain markets. They revived it. Basically, it was kind of a stretched repeat, and they were selling them in like Middle East and North Africa. And I saw one in Dubai. But I don't remember that I've ever seen the Lagonda Classic in person, as much as I would love to,
Sure.
because it's it is for as flawed a motor car as it was, and as equally flawed an electronics exercise, it is. I mean, it is one of the iconic designs of the 70s,
Hmm.
hands down.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just felt like it's going to be this one thing that just sort of sits there on its own, unencumbered by past or future, and somewhere down the line they're going to revere it or despise it, and probably in equal measure.
exactly.
Um,
Yeah, I actually think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that it's sort of this, it becomes, and when you're Ferrari and you have people literally willing to buy kind of whatever you make, like
mhm.
it gives you some freedom to take, how many do they build of this thing? Like 50 or
Yeah, I don't remember,
like
but it's not.
it's a small
Yeah,
number.
yeah, yeah.
And why not, have, if you've got like 49 people or whatever ready to buy something, why not take a swing at it, I guess.
Yeah.
And, if it looks different than every other Ferrari ever made, then okay. And it's one of those things like I've said this a few times in newsrooms. You've probably said or heard something on this nature. The sort of, the great thing about working in an ephemeral field like broadcasting is that, well, if we hate it, we just won't do it again. And maybe that's where we are. Maybe that's where
Right.
they are.
And yeah, you got to be Ferrari to do that, or
Yeah,
Lamborghini or somebody,
yeah,
Koenigsegg or McLaren or something,
yes, yes, yes. Renault can't do that.
No. No,
Chevrolet probably can't do
no, no.
that.
Uh, so some people have just some notes that thinking about here, like the somebody compared the looks to the Nissan Leaf, which okay, I'm not sure I see.
Favorably?
Um, it's roughly 2.5 seconds to 60. Um, 800-volt architecture. It's their first five-seater. Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's
I
wild.
I liked I thought the interior was less of a wild pitch than the exterior, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah. Well,
I like the center console thing that
hmm.
you can move. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
Uh, um, and the company announced that its longtime chief marketing commercial officer Enrico Galleria, I think, has quote decided to embark on a new chapter in his professional journey.
Oh no. Oh no, he's become the director of new media. Uh, okay. Um, well, maybe he looked at it and was like, "Nope, I can't sell that."
Yeah, yeah. I guess he told people that this was going to happen like back at the first of the year, and timing is everything, I suppose.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
mm, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
The other note that I had here, let me ask this question to you. Who do you think, and with the proviso that we have talked about how this is a market that we really don't care about. Like,
Yeah.
Ferraris and stuff, like they are, go ahead,
Yeah.
exist, do what you want, doesn't
Yeah.
matter to me.
God love you.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so who is winning the high-end sports car market these days? Do you think Porsche is? Do you think Lamborghini, Bugatti, other niche manufacturers?
Gosh, that's a really good question. I I will say I see just randomly a whole lot more McLarens than I used to.
Really?
Like just kind of out.
Hmm.
Like, that I see any at all, I think is kind of striking. But there's like a McLaren dealership in downtown Chicago, which is it still kind of blows my mind a little bit. Um, I feel like McLaren has really uh, created a profile for itself. Um, I think uh, I think for as for as much stick as Porsche has taken over the years for building, the Cayenne and then the Macan, like those cars do extremely well.
Hmm.
And I feel like every time I turn around, there's some new hot derivation of a 911 that everyone's talking about. Oh, it's a club sport. Wait, wasn't that the club sport? No, that was the
Yeah.
GT3. Oh, all right, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I feel like Porsche does really well, but I also think that high-end sports car market. Yeah, I and apparently Koenigsegg is still out there somewhere. I feel like we're in the death rattle of Bugatti, mostly because the parent company is a little bit adrift, and aren't they being sold?
Some, yes,
Because it's like Volks. Am I wrong? Is Volkswagen and Rimac sort of 50-50 on it, and
something.
something like that?
Let's ask the Google ATT.
And I just think that, I think that Ferrari is just sort of exists on this other really unattainable
Yeah.
plane, really. Um, I'll see a Lambo from time to time, though I don't see nearly as many of the current generation, but
Mm.
that's probably because I don't hang out in the Gold Coast enough.
Um, Bugatti is owned by the Croatian hypercar manufacturer Rimac
It is Rimac.
in partnership with the International Investment Consortium led by HOF Capital.
Oh boy. Private
That,
equity? Jeez.
private equity.
Yikes. Yikes. They're coming for all of us.
um, yeah. New York-based HOF Capital and Blue 5 Capital took over the remaining 45% stake from Porsche. Oh, well, I hope
Yeah.
that works out for them.
Yeah, boy. More power, right? Goodness gracious.
But I think you're right. I think it's interesting that, that they sell the, Macan and the Cayenne and sell a lot of them and I think do very well in that market and then don't really then everything else is $200,000 or above.
Hmm.
If you do the thought exercise of what could I buy on a Porsche, and it's like none of the 911s are anything what they used to be, you
No, that's
know,
true.
and and if they and like they made the car for you know
Hmm. Some
talk about
ridiculous,
narrow
super
slices of
niche, so niche. Yeah. But a car that captures imagination. And it's like,
sure.
oh,
Yeah.
wow, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Sure, jacked up 911 with a tire on the hood. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
um I think that Ferrari is of a. I think you're right. Ferrari is sort of a class of its own, and if
Hmm.
somebody's going to do it, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
The Luce, and because they have the cushion, as it were, to let this happen, to let this kind of play out, and I don't think it hurts them. I really don't. I
Yeah. Ferraris are still going to be Ferraris.
right.
It's kind of like any other car maker in the world would build a concept and throw it on the auto show or throw it online or something, or invite a bunch of influencers over to have a look at it and sort of gauge, is this something we want to build, whatever. Ferrari, screw it. We're just going to build a few of them and sell them. And
Right,
then we'll see
right,
what happens.
right,
Yeah.
right. And they are insisting that they're not selling these. The people who buy these are not buying them so they can buy something else, which has been their
Mm,
long-standing tradition, which I feel like they've gotten away from.
hmm
But that's what I've kind of heard,
hmm
that they're not as much into, well, you got to buy this before we can give you that,
hmm
which,
Yeah,
that,
it is. Ferrari is unique and I, you know, modern times to the, aside for a moment. I mean, they do sort of have that reputation of being like they don't just sell to anybody. You can't just
Mhm.
walk in off the street and buy a new Ferrari. Like
Mhm.
you've got to be vetted, uh, which is
Mhm.
wild. Like that's every car maker would want that, right?
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. And it's not just your everyday rock star who comes in.
Right. Yeah.
Gone are the days of the Eagles marching down to,
Yes.
Wilshire Boulevard to,
Yep.
pick up their new
Yeah.
cars. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're in Maroon 5, you better be Adam. You better be Adam Levine. You're not, not the drummer. The drummer's not going to get a Ferrari. Adam Levine will get a Ferrari.
I think we have our title. The
There you
drummer's
go.
not going to get a Ferrari.
I love that. Perfect.
Yeah. I, I think I really, for my ennui about Ferraris in general, I think that there are currently some really nice looking ones.
hmm
I like them. I think they do sort of, some of them sort of seem to resemble Priuses, but you
hmm
know, okay, it's in red.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I'll still. Well, what's your favorite Ferrari?
Um, I would have to go with like the early 60s ones. And
Oh,
I don't know
sure.
models. I
Okay.
really don't. But that sort of like in um the okay, so the car in Ferris Bueller is not a Ferrari, but it is a model of a
It's a
Ferrari.
replica. It's a replica of a 250
Okay,
GT. Yes.
that era.
Okay.
That's what I really like. And they would be, I'm sure, a nightmare to deal with,
Yes.
I,
Yes.
on any level, uh, you
Yeah.
know. And then I always think of like Acura coming along in the 90s and going, "Hey, we can build this really cool car," and it starts every time and it's got air conditioning. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. The NSX sort of turned everybody around on that, didn't they? Those are great. I remember I was at the I was at one of the auctions in Scottsdale years ago, and I saw a mid 60s 330 GT Ferrari Hammer for I think $7.5 million. Like it was a record for that. I mean, that's crazy, crazy money. I think. I mean, the 308 is kind of a cliche. I love the 400. I think, another icon of 70s design, another amazing Farina design.
That's the very cut.
The very angular two-door coupe,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Which
That is
really,
beautiful.
which actually was never sold here officially. There are a
Mm,
ton of gray market cars here that were brought in the 70s into like Miami and stuff. But it was I don't believe it was ever officially sold here.
mm.
But there's a ton of them here, and you can get them with an automatic even. But I think my favorite is the 575 Super America.
Okay.
That's the so the 575 is the front engined, I think it's a front engined V12, and the Super America had this great glass roof that would flip on its axis and flip back onto the deck lid, creating an open like a
Mm,
Targa car in essence. I think it's an incredibly elegant solution to creating an open top GT car, and I think those are fantastic. I saw one of
yeah.
those sell for like a million. No, it was $1 million. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, yeah. That
Is
thing's fantastic.
that a Bad Boys car? Was that in Bad Boys?
Oh, I have no idea.
No.
I was waiting for the book.
No, it is a beautiful car. I
Yeah,
I applaud your
it's
taste.
good. It's really,
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. So, all right. Well,
Okay.
Ferrari will do whatever they want, and they're not going to listen to us. So,
That's right.
more power to them.
Yeah.
And
Mostly because we don't translate into Italian.
although I am a quarter Italian.
Oh, all right then.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, all right. So we're
Seat backs and
gonna
tray tables up.
yes. We're gonna land the
Nice.
plane.
Okay.
Remember that you can watch us on YouTube. Just look for Car-Pinionated, and we will see you next time.